High above the city, on a tall column, stood the statue of the Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. For eyes, he had two bright sapphires, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. High above the city, there was a tall column, and there stood the statue of the Happy Prince, and he was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. He was gilded all over with the thin fine gold leaves. For eyes, he had two bright sapphires in his eyes, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. On the sword hilt there was a large red ruby which was very glowing. In the next stanza, in the next para, one night there flew over the city a little swallow. One night there flew over the city a little swallow. His friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. One night there came a swallow. There flew over the city a little swallow, and his friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed there. He had stayed behind. Then at last he decided to go to Egypt too. All day long he flew, and at night time he arrived at the city. "Where shall I put off?" he said. "I hope the town has made preparations." Where shall the swallow put up? Fix. Where shall the swallow stand and fix? Then he saw the statue on the tall column. "I will put up there," he cried. "It is a fine position with plenty of fresh air." So he alighted just between the feet of the Happy Prince. At last he alighted just between the feet of the Happy Prince. "I have a golden bedroom," he said softly to himself as he looked round, and he prepared to go to sleep. But just as he was putting his head under his wing, a large drop of water fell on him. "What a curious thing!" he cried. "There is not a single cloud in the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it's raining." Then another drop fell. Suddenly, when he prepared to go to sleep, just a drop of water fell on him, and he asked, "What a curious thing!" he cried. "What a curious thing! There is not a single cloud in the sky still, and the stars are quite clear and bright. So how is it raining?" Then another drop fell. "And what is the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off?" he said. "I must look for a good chimney pot." And he determined to fly away. "There is no use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off, according to the swallow. I must look for a good chimney pot." And he determined to fly away and in search of a good chimney pot where she could take shelter. But before he had opened his wings, a third drop again fell on it, and he looked up and saw. What did he saw? But before he had opened his wings, a third drop fell on him, and he looked up and saw. What did he see? The eyes of the Happy Prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down his golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with pity. He saw that the eyes of the Happy Prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down his golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight, and that the little swallow was filled with pity, seeing the Happy Prince. "Who are you?" he asked. I am the happy prince. Why are